Hello everyone, welcome back. This is LV Prasad. Today the topic I would like to discuss is about introduction to Docker and installation of Docker in Windows OS. And then we will talk about the integrating our automation suite with Docker to execute our automation scripts in the upcoming video. So let's get into the introduction part. To start with the introduction, what is Docker? So Docker is, to put that in simple terms, we can say Docker is a platform which enables us to create images of our end applications, and then those images we can use to run our applications. So let's get into the individual components. Docker is having few components. Let's get into the individual details of it, and we'll also discuss about the overall architecture and end-to-end communication of the Docker. So the Docker components goes like this. It's having the client and server, images, containers, and the registry. Registry is nothing but the repository. So let's start with the client and server communication. What is a client? What is a server? And how the communication happens. So we can, once the Docker is installed, we can call that as a server. So we can install it in any OS like the Windows, Windows OS, and also the Linux or the Unix, OS flavors of it. And once the Docker is installed, we can call that as a server, and we can communicate to the server in two different ways. One is the using the CLIs, command line interfaces. Either it could be the system, Windows system command, PowerShell command, or the Mac or terminal commands. So these are called as the clients. Using the CLI as a command client, we can communicate with the server. And the second way of communicating with the server is using the REST APIs provided by the Docker. But frequently used is the clients with the different CLIs. And how does the communication gets established, and what kind of a commands usually we use is so so as we said, the client and the server we have, and the Docker CLS also we discussed with the system 32 and the PowerShell and the terminals. So how does the communication happens is once the Docker is installed, we need to start the Docker service, which is nothing but the Docker daemon. Docker daemon is the service which should be up and running to make the communication established between the client and the server. The commands which we enter in the client will be sent to the server. Based on the command request, the Docker server will send the response back to the client. So this is how the communication works from the client and the server, and the response back to the client. And the next topic is Docker images. So what is Docker image? So as we said in the definition, we can create our end applications as in images. And to give further example, we can say that Chrome browser application, we can create a image of it, even the Firefox. In fact, the CI/CD open source tool, the Jenkins application, even we can create an image of that. In fact, these images are already available in the Docker Hub. The Chrome image, Firefox, the Jenkins image is already available in the Docker Hub. So how do we create an image? So if you build our solution, or if you build our project, does the image gets created? No. So to create an image, we have to use a file called the Docker file. The extension of this file is .docker file. Using this file, in this file we have to provide the step-by-step instructions, what files needs to be included in the image, and all that information we have to provide in this file. And when we to create an image, we have to use a command called docker build. So this command will reads the instructions provided in the Docker file and creates a package, and that output of that Docker build would be a image. So this is how we create an image from the Docker file of our project, or in fact of our application. So to relate it to our day-to-day experience, so most of us will be using the Maven projects, right? So when we say mvn build, what we get the output is a jar file, right? So the jar file will contain all the automation test classes, and in fact it will also contain the dependencies of our suite, right? So that is getting created as a jar file. So that's the Maven behavior. So similarly here, what we get in the Docker is a image output as an image from the instructions provided in the Docker file. So that's how the we can create an image. So the next topic would be the Docker containers. So Docker containers are nothing but the runtime environment where we run our images. So that when we run our images, the Docker creates a container for that image, and that image gets running inside this container. So that's the behavior of the container, which is a runtime environment. And the registry is nothing but a the repository. The Docker itself has a repository called Docker Hub. We can store our images in Docker Hub so that anybody who wants a similar image, they can download and work on it. And to discuss about the architecture flow, end-to-end flow of it. So this is how it will be like, as we said, the client and the host. Host is nothing but the Docker engine. In fact, it's a Docker server where it will contain the daemon service and the images and the containers inside the server. And this data like images, we can these images we can push it to the repository. It could be a Docker Hub. It can be specific to the organization internal repositories. So, what kind of a basic are the frequently used commands in the client of this CLI? So Docker build, as we discussed, we can use this command to create the images, and Docker pull. So this is a frequently used command. So Docker pull we use to download our images. So download our images means the image which was built. For example, today developers will create the images of our end application and they will push it to the repository. And being a QA, being an automation person, I would like to pull this image and I would like to run that application so that I can start my automation scripts for the UI automation. So these are the few comments, and there are a couple of comments like the Docker tag and Docker push. Docker tag is used to tag a version number of that image, and Docker push is used to push our images to the repository. To give one more the line about the Docker tag is, for example, how the tagging works is, for example, assume that we have a image called Selenium. To once the I'm a developer, I have a image called Selenium Hub. Assume that I'm a developer of Selenium, and today I developed something in this image, and I created image, and I will be tagging this image with a version 4.0, and I'll push this image to the Docker Hub 4.0. I'll push it to the Docker Hub or the internal organization specific repository. And we can the automation team can pull this image with a specific to the version, or we can directly pull the image. The available latest version will be pulled. Otherwise we can pull the specific version. So if a image is having a version number, that means it is not a production image. So how can we identify it is a production image or not? Means any image, if it is a production ready, it will not have a version number. In fact, it will have a string called latest. It means it is the production image. Even in our organization, in most of the organizations use this kind of a the naming convention for the image, so that everybody knows that the latest means it's a production image, and these images will be available in the repository. And yeah, this is about the introduction to the Docker. So let's start with the installation part. So how can we trigger the installation? Um, so Let me quickly create so Docker for Windows 10. So this is the official Docker site. Get into that, then it will point us to a Docker hub, which is a the repository. So desktop, done desktop, Docker for desktop. Okay, Docker desktop for Windows. Yes, and yeah, this is the installer. You click on this thing, and the installer gets downloaded. And you can go through this documentation. Even this will have this stable build. Even this link and this will link will point to the same installer, but this edge channel will point it to the ongoing implementations, like weekly build you will be getting. It's not a stable, it's still under beta thing. So the recommendation is to go with the stable version of it. Once it's downloaded, you can find it and you can have it in downloads, and the installer will look like this. So to start the installer, just double click on it. It will start with launching the installer window. It will take couple of times for the few first time, couple of minutes for the first time. So meanwhile, I will pause this video. Okay, so once the Docker installer is triggered, it will give the configuration window where it will ask for an option to use Windows containers or Linux containers. We get this option only if we trigger the installation in Windows, so the Windows OS, not for the Linux or the Unix OS. So what this option says is use Windows containers instead of Linux containers. What it says is as we trigger this installation in Windows OS, so it is suggesting to use Windows containers rather than Linux containers because it's a Windows. But what happens if we check this checkbox is, see in the, so when developers create an image, they will put the dependencies in such a way that there might be a chance that they will put the dependencies they will create the image in such a way that it will work in only in the Linux servers. They will create the image in such a way that the image can work in both Windows and the Linux, the containers. So how can we find the image which will work in both Windows and the Linux containers is just search for the images so say we'll search for the hello world image. Um, so this is an official image provided by the Docker, and if you see, this is the command to pull the Docker image into your Docker server. Pull is the command and hello world is the image name, and this image we are pulling it from the the Docker hub. But is this image, and this image is getting provided by Docker for different OS flavors, like it is providing for even for Windows, and it is also for the Linux as well. So if we pull this image, irrespective of this option whether you select or not doesn't select this, as this Windows is for both the OSs like Windows and Linux, it doesn't matter whether you select this option or not. This image will give you the output of hello world output. But what if I select this assume that I selected this option to use Windows containers? In that case, let me show you an Linux image. So as we talk about the integration of the automation suite with the Docker, right? We will be using this image. So this image, it is provided by Selenium. So see, this is provided by Selenium, and Selenium is provided only for the default OS, which is Linux. It doesn't have any Windows availability for this. So if you pull this image inside, if I check this checkbox, that means I am telling to Docker to use Windows containers. And if I pull this image, I can't run this image in the Linux image inside the Windows containers. And if I uncheck this checkbox, I can I'm so that if I uncheck this checkbox, what I'm telling to the Docker is, even though it's a Windows OS, but I will be using the Linux containers. If that is the case, we can use this kind of images to run it in Linux containers. So that is the definition of this option. People who want to go with the automation integration with the Docker, I would suggest don't select this checkbox. Just continue with the installation without selecting it. So then the installation will start unpackaging the installer, then it will start installing it. It will take some time. So meanwhile, I will pause the video. So once the installation is done, we get a screen like this. Just close this. So this confirms the installation is done. So let's pull the any CLI, the command line interfaces to interact with the Docker. So first we'll see the Docker version. Okay, so what kind of a version we installed and all that in basic in version related information we'll get. So I'll say the command for that is Docker version. Any Docker command you enter, the prefix should start with the Docker. Okay, so just enter. Now we should get an error because we installed the Docker, but we haven't started the service. So that is the reason this CLI client will fail to communicate with the Docker. So we should get an error. Yes. Oh, it started. No. See error during connect. So it says that in the default daemon. So daemon is a service which it couldn't communicate because the service is not started. So let's start the the service of the Docker. How can we start is just double click on the Docker installer wherever it is desktop shortcut icon we will be having. This is the one. Just double click on it. So the system will start the service of it, and you would be finding that in the system tray with a whale icon once it is available. So meanwhile I'll pause this video. So once the once we double click on the Docker, we'll find the whale icon here which says that Docker is starting, Docker is running. The state of it will be displayed in the tooltip, and you can launch that Docker window by right clicking on that icon and select the settings icon from the menu options. Right click menu options, then the Docker window will get launched. So this is how it is. Yes. Though it's saying starting here, it's already started. It says running, right? So it means it started. So right, so now execute this command again and see what kind of a response we get. So we should get all the information about the right. So we are now we didn't get the error, right? Now we didn't get the error. All the information related to the version is displayed here. So let me put the same command. So this so when we entered this Docker version command, it's showing in the white text, right? So if you put the same command in PowerShell, see the text representation is displayed in a different color representation, like Docker and version, right? So it's easy. The UI of the PowerShell is very good. Just utility is just good in differentiating that command thing. So this is how it is, the successful installation of the Docker in Windows. So in the next video, we'll see the how do we integrate the Docker to our automation suite to execute our scripts in it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching.